Okay, so you know how we always like to zoom out and think about the big ideas, right?
Hmm.
Like what makes a good life, or what do we owe each other, or how do we create a fair society? Well, today we're going to zoom in on something that's super fundamental to all of that.
Okay.
Something you probably think about every day, even if you don't realize it.
Yeah,
Your relationships.
that's right. And I think what's fascinating, drawing from the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy's entry on personal relationship goods, is that philosophy hasn't always focused on these everyday connections as much as you might think.
Yeah, that's true.
For a long time, the emphasis was on things like, material wealth or political systems
Right.
when
Yeah.
thinking about a good life or a just society.
Yeah.
But the source material really points to a shift in philosophical thinking,
Yeah.
where we're realizing that our intimate lives play a huge role in these big questions.
Totally. And it makes sense, right? I mean, as philosophers, we're starting to apply our analytical tools to
Right.
something that's so central to the human experience. So our mission today is to take a deep dive into these personal relationship goods,
Okay.
things like friendship, trust, affection,
Yeah.
and see why they matter so much according to philosophical inquiry and what kind of questions they raise about how we should all live together.
Right.
So think of this as a crash course in a really important area of thought
Excellent.
that can help you understand the big picture of human flourishing.
Okay, so let's get down to brass tacks here.
Yeah, let's do it.
What exactly are these personal relationship goods that the source material is helping us define?
Good question. Essentially, they're the valuable things we get from being in relationships with other people.
Okay.
And they often have two kinds of value. First, they have what philosophers call constitutive value,
Uh-huh.
meaning that they're actually part of what makes your life good in and of themselves,
Okay.
like a key ingredient.
Got it.
And second, they have instrumental value,
Yeah.
meaning they help you achieve other important things you want in life.
Right.
But the point is, you can't really get these goods outside of relationships.
Makes sense.
Like you can't just buy companionship at the store.
Right. Right. Exactly.
So to give you some concrete examples,
Yeah.
the entry mentions things like companionship.
Yeah.
You know, that feeling of having someone to share your life with, or affection, the warmth and care we feel and show towards others,
Yeah.
intimacy, that deep sense of connection and understanding,
Sure.
attachment, which is about the emotional bonds we form.
Right.
And of course, love, friendship, empathy, feeling respected by others,
Yeah.
a sense of belonging and trust.
Right.
These all fall under this umbrella of personal relationship goods.
Got it.
And, you know, it's interesting because some of these words like love and friendship
Yeah.
can describe both the type of relationship you have and the good thing you get out of it,
Huh. That is interesting.
which can make it a bit tricky to analyze, but ultimately it helps us focus on what's really important about these connections.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, it's important to be clear about what kinds of relationships and goods we're talking about here,
Okay.
because we're not focusing on family relationships in the narrow sense.
Like parent and child.
Exactly. Those are obviously super important and involve personal relationship goods,
Uh-huh.
but we're looking at personal relationships more broadly.
Okay.
We're also not talking about political relationships like between citizens,
Got it.
or those very brief impersonal interactions you might have with like a store clerk.
Right, right. So we're really zeroing in on those direct one-on-one connections you have.
Precisely. Think about your friends, your family members more generally, your neighbors, your colleagues,
Yeah.
even people you connect with through a shared hobby or a cause you're passionate about.
Okay.
Those are the kinds of relationships that give rise to the personal relationship goods we're interested in today.
Makes sense. And what doesn't count as a personal relationship good then? Just so we're all on the same page.
Good question.
Oh.
The entry gives some clear examples,
Okay.
like the support you get from Social Security, or
Right.
the idea that everyone should be included in society,
Mm-hmm.
which might be protected by anti-discrimination laws,
Yeah.
or even your right to vote.
Okay.
While those are all obviously super important for a good society,
For sure.
you can benefit from them, even if you don't have direct personal interactions with other individuals.
Right. I see the distinction.
So those fall outside our scope for today.
Okay, so we've got a good grasp on what these goods are,
Yeah,
but why are philosophers so interested in them all of a sudden?
right. Why should we care about your friendships and feelings of connection?
Exactly.
Well, there are a few key reasons the source material highlights.
Okay.
Firstly, these goods are increasingly seen as absolutely crucial for your individual well-being.
Yeah.
I mean, most people deeply desire these connections. They bring a lot of joy and pleasure,
Mm-hmm.
and some philosophers even argue that certain goods, like friendship and love, have objective value,
Meaning?
meaning they're good for you, whether or not you even realize it.
Interesting.
But the philosophical interest goes beyond just individual happiness.
Okay.
There's also a growing understanding that these goods are relevant to our moral obligations
Okay.
and even our rights,
Mhm.
especially when we think about how they're distributed across society.
You mean like if it's fair that some people have tons of close friends and others are lonely?
Exactly. That's the core of it.
Wow.
Philosophers are concerned about the fact that access to these goods isn't equal
Uh-huh.
and that this inequality can have significant consequences for people's lives.
Because?
Well, the source material argues that these goods are such a big part of your overall well-being,
Yeah.
and they're a kind of resource,
Right.
and they influence the opportunities you have in life.
Like how so?
Well, think about it. Someone with a strong support system might have more chances to pursue education or take risks in their career.
Right, because they have people to rely on.
Exactly.
So does this lead to the question of whether we have a moral duty to ensure everyone has these opportunities?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
Are we morally obligated to try and make things fairer when it comes to these essential goods?
Yeah. Are we talking about just being nice, or is this a matter of justice?
That's exactly what a lot of philosophers are grappling with right now.
Okay, so we've established what these goods are and why philosophers are paying attention.
Yeah,
Now let's dig deeper into why they're so valuable.
right. Let's break it down.
The entry talks about constitutive value and instrumental value. Let's start with constitutive value.
Okay, so constitutive value means that these goods are part of what makes a life good in and of itself. They're not just a means to an end.
Uh-huh.
They're a fundamental ingredient of a flourishing human life.
Got it.
And the ethics of care has been really influential in highlighting this.
How so?
Well, it emphasizes that care itself.
Like nurturing and support.
Yeah, exactly. That's a fundamental good in life.
Okay.
And there's actually research to back this up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's this huge study that followed adults over time, and it found that personal relationships were basically essential for feeling satisfied with life.
Wow.
And they were even linked to things like living longer and better health,
Interesting.
which kind of hints at the instrumental value we'll talk about later.
Makes sense. What other research is there?
Well, there's this study in Ireland that found that close relationships were the most important thing in many adults' life plans.
More than money or career success?
Yeah, more than anything else.
Ah, that's powerful.
And for children,
Yeah.
these goods, like love from parents and friendships with other kids, are really what makes for a good childhood.
Right.
Like, it's hard to imagine a childhood without those things being considered truly good.
I agree. And what about the parents themselves?
Right. The entry even suggests that family relationship goods might be essential for parents to flourish as well.
So it's not just one-sided.
Not at all.
It's a two-way street.
Exactly. And this idea extends to your political relationships, too.
Okay, how so?
Well, things like not being discriminated against and being treated as an equal member of society
Uh-huh.
are essential for you to thrive in that community.
Right, like a basic level of respect and inclusion.
Exactly. So if these goods are so fundamental to a good life,
Yeah.
does that mean we have a duty to provide them to others?
Ooh, that's a big question.
It is. Some philosophers, like Collins, actually argue for a duty to offer friendship,
Wow.
at least when you're able to.
Hmm.
And O'Neill suggests a duty for adults to be kind and involved with children.
Okay.
But there's debate about whether these are duties of, like, benevolence or justice.
Right, like should we just encourage it, or is it something we're obligated to ensure?
Exactly. And
Yeah.
then there's Brownlee's argument for a human right to decent interpersonal contact.
That sounds like a justice argument.
Yeah, he basically says that basic social connection is so fundamental
Uh-huh.
that it should be considered a human right.
Interesting.
And Brickhouse and Swift argue that adults who'd be good parents should have the opportunity to have close relationships with children.
Okay, so we've covered the constitutive value,
Yeah,
those goods that are good in themselves.
right,
Now let's move on to instrumental value.
right. How do these goods help us achieve other things we want in life?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, they're often necessary for survival, health, and development.
Okay.
Like, think about infants.
Yeah,
They completely depend on care to survive and thrive.
makes sense.
And Brownlee argues that this extends to all ages.
Hmm.
Like, a lack of social contact can actually trigger a physical stress response.
Oh, wow. So loneliness isn't just a feeling, it has real consequences.
Exactly. It's been linked to things like high blood pressure, weight gain,
Mm.
weaker immune systems, even a higher risk of depression and suicide.
That's scary.
And beyond just physical health,
Yeah.
our emotional, linguistic, and social abilities all develop through interaction with others.
Right. We learn by interacting.
Exactly. And the entry also mentions Liao's argument about a child's right to be loved.
Yeah, because of its impact on development, right?
Yeah. He argues that a lack of love can seriously harm a child's development.
That's a strong claim.
It is. But we'll come back to the idea of a right to be loved later,
Okay.
because it raises some tricky questions.
For sure. So what's the next way these goods have instrumental value?
Well, they're also crucial for developing autonomy,
Which is?
our ability to make our own choices and govern ourselves.
Right.
For children, it's hard to imagine them becoming fully autonomous adults without close relationships.
Yeah, they need guidance and support.
Exactly. And Helter even argues that parents essentially create persons through this process.
Wow.
But Brownlee points out that even adults need decent contact to maintain their autonomy.
Like, if you're isolated for too long?
Yeah, think about prisoners in solitary confinement.
Right.
Their mental state can deteriorate to the point where they can't really make free and rational choices.
That's a powerful example.
And if these goods are essential for survival, health, and autonomy, then they're also necessary for securing other rights.
How so?
Well, think about the interest theory of rights,
Which says?
which says that rights protect your most fundamental interests.
Okay.
So if you have a right to health,
Yeah.
and social connection is crucial for your health,
Uh-huh.
then you arguably have a right to the social connection needed to maintain that health,
I see.
like a foundation.
Yeah.
And this connects to other philosophical ideas like Nussbaum's capabilities approach,
Which is?
which emphasizes the importance of being able to connect with others and have emotions.
Right.
And Wolf and Deschalette talk about fertile advantages,
Okay.
things that make it more likely you'll achieve other advantages.
Uh-huh.
And personal relationship goods definitely fit that description.
Makes sense.
And finally,
Yeah.
the entry discusses these goods in relation to Rawls' idea of primary goods.
Okay, how does that work?
So Rawls argued that there are certain things everyone needs to
Uh-huh.
pursue their own idea of a good life, regardless of what that idea is.
Right.
And some philosophers argue that certain personal relationship goods
Yeah.
are like these primary goods.
In what way?
Well, they're essential for anyone to have a fair shot at pursuing their goals.
Okay.
Brake argues that you can't buy caring relationships.
Right.
Like, you can buy material care,
Uh-huh.
but you can't buy the relationship itself.
That's true.
So even if you have enough money, you might still lack these essential relational
This
goods.
makes sense.
And they're also argued to be necessary for developing our two moral powers,
Which are?
our sense of justice and our ability to have a conception of the good life.
Okay.
These relationships help us learn about fairness,
Yeah.
empathy, all that stuff.
Right.
And Cordelli argues that having good relationships provides the support and stability we need to develop those moral powers.
And to actually live according to them.
Right. And finally, there's the connection to equality of opportunity,
Which is?
the idea that everyone should have a fair chance to succeed in life. If having these goods impacts your health, well-being, and development,
Mm-hmm.
then unequal access undermines equality of opportunity.
Right. Because some people will have a head start.
Exactly. So while there are some nuances to this argument,
Like what?
well, Brake raises the example of marriage for same-sex couples.
Oh, yeah.
But the overall point is that a certain level of social connection seems necessary for having a fair shot at opportunities.
I see.
All right, so we've covered the general value of these goods.
Yeah.
Now the entry has a special section on children.
Okay, why is that?
Well, children are obviously particularly vulnerable,
Uh-huh.
and they depend on adults for their well-being.
Right.
So these goods aren't just important for their happiness as kids,
Yeah.
they're also crucial for their future flourishing as adults.
Makes sense.
But there's a potential tension here.
Like what?
What makes a child happy in the short term might not be what's best for their long-term development.
Ooh, that's tricky.
It is. And then there's the idea of a right to familial relationship goods.
What's that about?
Well, there's a general agreement that children have certain claims against adults
Okay.
when it comes to their well-being.
Right, like a right to be cared for.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And Brighouse and Swift,
Yeah.
they defend the family by highlighting the goods it provides,
Mm-hmm.
like parental love, that close connection,
Right.
and the guidance from someone who's responsible for them.
Okay.
And they make a distinction between children's entitlements and adult entitlements.
That's so.
Well, they argue that children have an unconditional right to the outcomes of those goods.
Like they deserve to be loved and cared for.
Exactly. But adults only have a right to the opportunity to be parents,
Okay.
and that's only if they're capable of being good parents.
Right. That makes sense.
But they don't think there's a right to be loved.
Which brings us back to that debate.
Right. Liao argues that children do have a right to be loved
Okay.
based on its impact on their development.
Yeah.
But the main counterargument is that you can't have a right to something you can't control.
Like forcing someone to love you.
Exactly. You can't just make someone love you.
Right.
So there can't be a duty to do so.
And therefore no. Right.
Right. And Brake adds that love often depends on the qualities of the person being loved.
Which are also outside your control.
Exactly. So it gets really complicated.
It does. But what about the actions associated with love?
Right. That's another angle.
Maybe that's what's really crucial.
Yeah. Maybe children don't need the internal feeling of love, but rather the actions that come with it.
Right, like care and support.
Exactly. And it's really hard to separate those two things.
Yeah. How do you measure love as opposed to actions?
Right. And then there's the argument that the value of love depends on it being freely given.
Oh, interesting.
Like if you're obligated to love someone, it might lose some of its value.
Yeah, it becomes a chore.
Exactly.
Okay, so given those complexities around a right to be loved,
Yeah.
the entry talks about a right to non-parental caregiving.
Right. Gus argues that children might have a right to care from other adults.
Not just the parents.
Yeah.
In what context?
Well, within stable and protected relationships. Like, think about good quality institutional care.
Right.
And there are a few reasons for this.
Like what?
Well, it could reduce the risk of abuse and neglect. It could lead to a more equal distribution of good care.
Okay.
And it could potentially lessen the influence of parents.
Interesting.
And it could also increase the chances of a child finding someone who loves them.
Yeah, even if there's no duty to love.
Exactly. Like having more caring adults in your life increases the likelihood of forming those bonds.
Makes sense.
And we know from extended families that those bonds don't weaken the bond with parents.
Okay, so the more the merrier, in a way.
Right. As long as it's good care.
Yeah, of course.
And finally, in this section on children,
Yeah.
there's the right to solitude.
Huh. That seems counterintuitive.
It does, right. But solitude is actually really important for both children and adults.
Yeah, I guess we all need some alone time.
We do. And children can't always choose to be alone.
Especially when they're young.
Exactly. So the argument is that adults need to provide them with that opportunity.
Okay.
And it's not just about avoiding annoyance. It's about having space for things like play and creativity,
Right.
which are crucial for development.
Okay, so we've explored the value of these goods for children.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about distributive justice.
All right. How do we ensure everyone has a fair chance to experience these goods?
That seems like a tough one.
It is. And there's a growing consensus that the distribution of these goods matters. But figuring out how to approach it in terms of justice is tricky.
Yeah. How do you even measure these things?
Right. And one of the first challenges is the idea of state neutrality,
Which means?
which means that the state shouldn't favor certain ideas about what's good.
Okay.
But when it comes to relationships, people have very different ideas about what's important.
Right.
So any attempt to promote certain types of relationships could be seen as biased.
I see the dilemma.
And then there's the indexing problem.
What's that?
It's the difficulty of comparing different kinds of disadvantages.
Like, how do you compare lacking a close friend to having a low income?
Exactly.
And providing these goods isn't always easy or cheap either.
Right. Time is a limited resource.
And different approaches reflect different values.
Exactly. Like shorter work hours versus state-run care facilities.
Yeah, those are very different.
They are. So there's no easy neutral answer.
Right.
One suggestion is to think about a hypothetical insurance system.
Interesting.
Like what opportunities for relationships would people choose if they had a blank slate?
Huh. That's a thought experiment.
It is. And then there's the question of what principle of distribution to use.
Like, should everyone have the same amount of access?
Right. Or could everyone just have enough? There's no agreement on this yet. Some argue for equal access to things like love and care, while others focus on making sure everyone has enough to avoid isolation.
Okay.
But how much is enough? That's another debate.
Right.
And there's the question of what metric of justice to use.
Meaning?
Are we trying to distribute resources fairly? Or well-being? Or capabilities?
Huh. Yeah, what are we even talking about here?
Right. Gayus clarifies the difference between what we're aiming for
Okay.
and what institutions actually make available.
Right.
And personal relationship goods could fit into different metrics.
Like resources, capabilities,
Right.
well-being.
Exactly.
And what about the idea that disadvantages in one area can be compensated for in another?
That's a real challenge for this area.
How so?
Well, if someone lacks close relationships,
Yeah.
could we make up for it by giving them more money or something?
It doesn't seem right.
Doesn't feel right, does it?
No.
So maybe we need a different way of thinking about justice here.
One that doesn't allow for those kinds of trade-offs?
Exactly.
Mhm.
And unlike things like money,
Yeah.
some of these goods aren't fully rivalrous,
Meaning?
meaning that your friendship with one person doesn't prevent you from being friends with another.
Right, it's not like a zero-sum game.
Exactly. Which could make distribution easier in theory,
Okay.
but our resources are still finite.
Especially time and energy.
Right. So there are still limits.
Okay, so who's responsible for ensuring a fair distribution?
Good question. Brownlee argues that individuals have a role to play,
Oh.
but rights don't necessarily require a specific duty holder.
So even without a clear system of responsibility, there might still be rights.
Exactly. And there's debate about whether we can have duties to offer things like companionship or love.
Because that might undermine their value.
Yeah, like if it's forced, it's not really genuine.
Right.
So the focus seems to be on creating conditions where those relationships can flourish.
Okay, so what are some of the practical challenges here?
Well, there are issues of feasibility and desirability.
Like what?
Like, can we force people to associate with others?
Right, that seems wrong.
It does. And how do you even compensate for the loss of these goods?
Yeah, they're so unique.
Exactly. Which might make their provision even more urgent.
Mm.
And then there's the issue of the bads of relationships.
The what?
Yeah, we focused on the good stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but relationships can also be harmful.
Right, like toxic relationships.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And while we can't distribute bads directly,
Yeah.
the question is who's responsible for addressing that unfairness?
Mm.
Like when some people experience way more negative relationships,
Right.
some suggestions include things like subsidized therapy or counseling.
Oh, okay.
But those might just improve the quality,
Yeah.
not guarantee equal outcomes.
Right.
And obviously, we don't want to just make everyone's relationships worse.
No, of course not.
So it's a complex issue.
Definitely. So what about policies and institutions?
Right. What can states and other institutions do?
Oh, yeah.
Well, they can't force people to be friends, but they can shape the conditions.
Okay, how?
They can create environments where people are more likely to meet,
Like what?
like community centers or public parks.
Okay.
They can encourage people to volunteer. They can support caregivers.
Right.
They can educate people about caregiving and social skills.
Okay.
They could even rethink institutions like marriage and prisons.
To reduce isolation.
Exactly. And there's the idea of a care corps
What's that?
where people either volunteer or are required to do care work.
Hmm.
And there's subsidized therapy and counseling for those who struggle.
Okay.
And when it comes to children,
Yeah,
eliminating child poverty is a big one.
of course.
And there's the idea of holding states accountable for ensuring adequate parents.
Interesting.
And while more extreme ideas like controlling procreation are unpopular,
Yeah.
there are milder approaches like encouraging adoption and parenting classes
Okay.
and creating robust institutional care options
Makes sense.
and teaching kids about the importance of relationships.
Yeah. Wow. So there's a lot we can do.
There is. And this is all just scratching the surface.
Right. So to sum up,
Yeah.
what are the key takeaways here for our listeners?
The main point is that these personal relationship goods are not just some side issue.
Mm-hmm.
They're fundamental to a good life and a fair society.
Right.
And philosophers are finally starting to give them the attention they deserve.
Yeah.
So for you listening at home, this deep dive hopefully gives you a new way to think about your own relationships
Yeah.
and the bigger picture of how we create a world where everyone has a chance to experience these essential goods.
Absolutely. So to leave you with a thought,
Yeah.
what personal relationship goods do you think are most crucial for a flourishing life?
Mm-hmm.
And how do we balance individual freedom with the societal interest in making sure everyone has access to these goods?
That's a great question for everyone to ponder.
And remember, this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
Keep exploring these ideas.
Yeah.
And we'll be back soon with more deep dives into other fascinating philosophical topics.
See you next time.